Have you ever come across a piece of gear and you were thinking, that looks really neat, but how would I actually use that piece of gear? What do I actually need it for? Where would it fit in my systems? What does it do better than another piece of equipment that I already have? And that can be anything from clothing to optics, backpacks, bags, your 20th striker fired 9mm pistol with a trigger that's the same as every other striker fired pistol that you have in 9mm, or in this case a knife. That's kind of where I'm at with this knife. So this is the Benchmade Mini Adamas, and while I got this knife because it goes good in the collection, I was trying to figure out, where does it actually fit? What would I actually use this for? What does it do better than any of the other pieces of equipment or knives that I have in the collection that I carry for certain purposes? I know that the reason that Benchmade made this Mini Adamas is because it seems like everything that you put the Mini label on just sells better, and they were trying to figure out a way to make more money, which is what companies do. And taking a very popular knife and making a mini version of it seems to be a good way to do that. And if you doubt that, then just look at these knives. Chris Reeves Sabenza 31, the large one. Chris Reeves Sabenza 31, the small one, or the mini. The Benchmade Freak. The Benchmade Mini Freak. Oh yes, and Spyderco's done it too. The Paramilitary 2. The Para 3. And anybody that puts in the comments that the Para 3 is not just a mini version of the Para 2, that's I don't buy that. Same clip, same basic blade shape, same basic handle. I've heard people say this isn't a mini version, but this is a mini Para 2. So now that we've determined that the mini version of this is just a smaller version of the larger one, and that's kind of what the company was thinking about, who should actually buy this knife? Who is this knife made for? So I carried this pocket knife a little bit this hunting season, and what I found about this knife is that it is, let's compare it to the full size one. There's the full size, and here's the full size and automatic. So that's the size comparison. So it is quite a bit smaller in the blade length and in the handle length, and it is lighter. I don't know exactly how much lighter. You can look up all the stats on the Benchmade website. This isn't really about the stats of the knife. It's more about what is it actually good for and who should buy this knife. So like I said, I carried this pocket knife a bit during hunting season, and I opened feed bags with it. I cut some stuff around camp, some cordage, worked on a cooler with it. I opened a can of dog food with it when the top part of the dog food can broke off, so I couldn't open it the normal way, and it did just fine. It doesn't actually, so it's made very, very sturdy. So someone that needs an overbuilt knife would find this to be very useful. But do you really need a knife built like this in general in most situations? For instance, the other knife that I carried a lot during hunting season was this, and this is the Benchmade tagged out. This is the one in Magna Cut and the carbon fiber handles. And by the way, this is a G10 handle scales, and it's CPM crew wear for the blade, so very, very tough steel. This knife that I carried, it cut the feed bags just as well. It did all the camp chores just as well. I actually cut food with this knife, which it did that better than this blade did. And part of that is because look at the difference between this blade stock. This knife is not, even with the swedge up here, this is, look at how thick it is right here. This knife is really overbuilt, and this isn't the sliciest knife on the planet. In fact, it doesn't cut really good compared to another knife that's as slicey as this knife. This is a full flat ground. It's got the select edge. This is a very slicey knife to do knife chores with, actually. So this knife didn't cut things as well. When I did cut on a deer with it, I put some tags on some deers, which required me to cut through the back where the joint is on the back leg so I could hook the tags on. I did this for a few people at the processor, and this knife didn't cut as well as this knife did by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I had this knife with me too, and I busted this knife out just to kind of compare them. This is a much better cutter. Now, I would never try to open up a can of dog food with this knife, for instance. But that brings us to the question. Do you really need to open up a can of dog food with your pocket knife? Do you really need to pry off the top of a 5-gallon bucket or whatever with your pocket knife? Do you really need to do these kinds of tasks with your pocket knife? Because in my truck, to open that can of dog food, if I had just thought about it a few more seconds, and if it was 20 degrees warmer outside, I could have broken out anything from a chisel that I had in the truck to a Wonder Bar that I had in the truck, actual pry bars, I mean, actual tools. And if you're on a job site, for instance, and you're cutting or doing these kind of things, you'll have the correct tools in your bag or on your truck. You won't need to use your knife. So do we really need a knife to do these overbuilt tasks? I don't really think so. So I still don't know where this knife fits. It's also one of the main reasons that I don't know where this knife fits is, again, this knife. If I'm in a situation where I do need to carry an overbuilt knife, I'm going to carry the full-size Adamas. I'm not going to carry the mini Adamas. I'm going to carry one that I get a better grip on the handle, fills my hand better, that I get more leverage on this knife, that the blade is longer so that it reaches out a little bit further. Yeah, I'm going to carry the full-size knife if I think I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to need an overbuilt flipper knife, right? Or I'll just, in so a lot of those situations, I'll probably just have a fixed blade. But if I have to carry a flipper knife, a folding knife, I'm going to carry the full size. So who actually needs this? This is where I think that I'm going to leave this up to the audience, the people that watch this video. So if you're watching this video, I'd like to know where this knife fits in. If you have this knife, or if you're looking at this knife, why are you looking at it? What void in your current gear or setup does this fill? What's your use case or your philosophy of use behind this knife? So I'll admit that I'm not a tactical person. I don't walk around, looking with a knife in my pocket, thinking about doing clandestine operations or tactical things. In fact, I would never carry a knife for that purpose. In my daily life, I don't go to places that are going to require me to use a knife for anything like that. And I don't expect that many people that are watching this video do. And if you do, then you're probably in the military or in law enforcement or fire and rescue where you might need an overbuilt knife. And this, let me know if you're in those fields, if this is the knife you would carry, or if you would actually carry the full size, or even better, in places where you actually have to be able to one hand open it, potentially, the automatic version of this knife, right? So at this point, for me, while I do like the way this knife looks, and it doesn't feel bad in the hand, although it is a little shorter, right? If I spread my fingers out a little bit, this is a lot shorter. And I do get hot spots on this knife too from the clip, because not only is it shorter, it's thinner than the full size, so the full size fills your hand better. But to me, this knife doesn't really fit anywhere that I would need to carry this on a daily basis. So right now, this is just going to be in the collection, but for me, it's not going to be carried very much. I will say that the CPM Crew wear held an edge longer than the D2 steel did, and I do feel like this was tougher. It pried the can off that dog food, and it didn't leave any permanent scratches on it or anything either, for that matter. So this is a very tough knife, and if you're in the market for a super tough mini knife for whatever reason, then the Benchmade Mini Adamas might be the way to go. So do me a favor and leave in the comments if you have this knife, or if you're looking to get this knife, and what your purpose for this knife is. Sorry this isn't a longer overview, but for me, this just doesn't fit really anywhere in my day-to-day carry. This isn't a knife that I'm going to EDC. In fact, lately, even after hunting season, I've been EDCing the Benchmade tagged out. This knife is super slicey, easy to open and close one-handed. It has a over 3.5-inch blade, so compare that to the full size, the large Chris Reeve Sabenza, and you'll see that the blades are almost the same length. The cutting edges are almost the same length. The blade shape is close, but this blade shape for slicing is even better, and it doesn't have the thumb studs to get to be an inclusion when you're slicing through things. So this is actually the pocket knife that I've been EDCing recently, and compared to the Mini Adamas, I'm still going to continue to EDC this, and this is not going to see much pocket time. So if you like videos like this, you like to see knives, and I also do firearm reviews and overviews and clothes and equipment as well, please do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. All the stuff is bought and paid for by me. I'm not sponsored by any company. I have no company affiliations. I just kind of get and review the things that I like. And one of the things that's going to be up next, if you happen to be a firearm enthusiast, is the Shadow 2 Compact. So that's one of the next things that I'll probably do an overview or review on. So thank you very much for watching this video. And again, leave it in the comments and let me know what if you do, what you're using the Benchmade Mini Adamas for. Thanks. Have a good day.